Okay, so again, we're taking a look at tables. I want you to follow along the code pen, or if you're using Visual Studio Code. Okay, so tables are a structured set of data made up of rows and cells. Right, you want to keep those two terminologies in mind. Rows and cells. Cells can span multiple columns and rows. Now, we take a look at our example. All right, we see we have this is actually 4 rows, right? 4 rows and 2 columns. And so you could think of rows in HTML as organizing data horizontally or side to side. Okay, so I have to give. What do you mean if you have to give your Gmail? So again, you could think of rows as organizing data side to side. So person and age is on one row, it's in one row. Chris and 38 is in one row. Dennis and 45 is in one row. Sarah and 29 is in one row. And Karen and 47 is in one row. Are you saying you're not enrolled in the class? Okay, let me take a look. Are you sure you're not able to access with, are you using the VLE with this email? Pardon me? No, no, we ain't using that account. You're using the VLE. Not access to VLE? Okay, yeah. So we're not working off an etiquette, just everything is being done on the VLE. And so tables. So again, tables is a structured set of data made up of cells and rows, right? And so again, you could think of rows as organizing data horizontally or side to side. So like I was saying, Karen and 47 is on one row, person and age is in one row, and you're gonna see that demonstrated when we start writing some HTML code. Okay. And so tables are defined using the table element. Okay, and sometimes you might hear me saying element and tag, right? So I'm using tag and element interchangeably. So sometimes I might say tables are defined by using the table tag, right? So a table contains a cell, TD, organized into TR, table rows. Now take a look. Person and age is a table row, right? Those are being housed by a table row. However, each cell, such as Chris, 38, 45, Dennis, we could think of those blocks as table data, right? A cell or a table data, TD, okay? And so table cells, which act as a column or row headers, should use TH. Now, we see that person and age are, they're bolded, right? We call that table headings. And we're gonna see, don't worry about it, you're gonna see this demonstrated in code, and hopefully I can make that a bit more clear. And so captions can be added to tables using the caption element, and the caption element is gonna give your table, it's gonna give your table a title, all right? It's gonna give your table a title, and then we're also gonna see the caption element in a bit. So tables can be divided into a header, body, and footer sections if required. Don't have to worry about that just yet, okay? So all you need to think about right now is table rows and table data, okay? Table rows and table data. Let's take a look at our first example. We have a basic HTML table, right? Where we have our table tag. We have 2 table rows, all right? 2 table rows, and we have 4 table data. 4 table data. So this is a table consisting of 2 rows and 2 columns. Now let's demonstrate that in code to see what we get. So we start by writing a table element, opening and closing. Remember in HTML, an element is opening and closing, and you can tell the difference because the end tag or the closing tag has a forward slash. Okay, it's prefixed with a forward slash. This is what we call the end tag or the closing tag. The one that doesn't have the forward slash is the start tag or the opening tag. Alright? And we want to write our code in between these tags. So we go in the middle, hit enter, and now we could write HTML code in between. Okay, great. So next thing that we want to do, we want to create a table row. So we'll say tr, both opening and closing. Both opening and closing, right? And before we insert any table data or TD, let's create a second table row. Okay, let's create a second table row. So now we have two table rows, right? And watch what happens when we start to insert data. Watch what happens. So I'm going to create a table heading, TH, right? Opening and closing. And in between my table heading tags, I'm going to insert movies, right? I'm going to insert movies. Okay. And I'm going to enter a second table heading. And in between here, I'm going to say TV shows. And let's create a third one, right? And notice that in this same row, table row, it's organizing the data on the side or horizontally, right? So even though in my HTML code I have movies and TV shows stacked above one another, all right? It's organizing that data side to side, right? So you want to keep that in mind. Table rows organize data horizontally. So I'm going to call this last one anime, or you could use cartoons if you want, or any example that you want to. Now, watch what happens when I insert table data, not table head, but table data into my second table row, right? I'm in my second table row. So let's add a TD, table data, and let's say this one is, let's go with Friday. So that's going to show up underneath movies, right? Because remember, each table row organizes data horizontally. So since we're in a new table row, it's going to go underneath my first table row. So if we look at our basic HTML tables example, this is one row. Okay, follow my mouse. This is one row where we have row 1, column 1, and then row 1, column 2. So this is one row. So that would be this first row in our HTML code. And our second row, that's what shows up at the bottom, right? That shows up at the bottom. So now, if I was to insert a table data right here, and I insert some text in between these tags, where do you think that table data is going to show up underneath? Is it going to show up underneath Friday, TV shows, or anime? Okay, let's see. So let's say I have a TV show of Riverdale. And you're absolutely right. 100% right. Because again, table rows should organize data side to side. So if I created a second table data, sorry, a third table, that's going to show up on the next, right? Here's what I want you to do. You have something in HTML called attributes. Attributes, they change how a tag functions, change how it looks, right? So all attributes in HTML go between start tag, go inside of the start tag, right? So I'm going to go inside of my start table tag, space, I'm set a border attribute, add border around, set it to any body that you want. So, HTML attribute inside of our starting tags, they change how our HTML element function or how they look. So here's what I want you to click at. want you to add a table row. Third one, add a table row, three table data inside of that. So if I was to implement that, I would have a table row that has table data under Friday, Riverdale, and Full Metal Market. So you're going to create a table. Okay? We'll give you 5 minutes, and then I will show you how to. Not submitting it, it's just a couple questions. Exit 5 minutes. Could you repeat that, Mr. Dilla? You could hear me now? I'm saying I want you to create a new table row, okay? Same way that we did here. Create a new table row and insert three table data inside of that table row. So once you've completed that, you're gonna see a new table row show up underneath movies, TV shows, and anime. But what I wanted you to do specifically, just you, I wanted you to go to week 1 and complete the 3 lab exercises, right? And there are video solutions that are going to walk you through those lab exercises. Okay? Great. And you notice like while I'm talking, if I'm not clear or if I'm breaking up, you can say, "Hey, Mr. Collins, you're breaking up a bit, right?" So I don't mind. I don't mind the interruptions. So I don't want to be talking for a whole hour and then I'm breaking up and I'm choppy. So in about 3 minutes and a half, we take a look. Okay. Anyone wants to share their solution? Ferguson, you were saying something? Sure. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Let's see. You want to scroll down? Okay, great. You also added the caption. Nice. Okay, let's see. Okay, the only you wanna. Okay, share again. You missing something? Okay, scroll up. You see on line 6, you're missing your closing TH. Yeah, you can see the line numbers right on your left. Yeah, right there on line 6. Supposed to be TH. Yeah, that's it. So that's perfect. Awesome. Anyone else wants to share? Okay, so let's walk through it together. So what we're supposed to do is create a third table row that's gonna insert table data at the end of our row. So we come at the end of our table and we create a table row, opening and closing, and our table data is gonna go in between that table row. So if I wanted to add a second movie, I'm gonna create a table data. Let's go with Love and Monsters. Okay, and that's gonna show up underneath Friday. So when I enter second table data, as you guessed it, it's gonna show up underneath Riverdale. Okay, it's gonna show up underneath Riverdale, or more accurately on the side of Love and Monsters. So for a TV show, say Narcos. Right. So let's add another anime. Let's go with okay. Great. So again, table rows, they organize data horizontally. Okay. We insert table headings when we want something to be, if we want something to take more so precedence, right? We don't want to set table, like if we wanted movies, TV shows, and anime, we don't want to set that actual movie as the table heading. That wouldn't make much sense, right? In this scenario, okay? So table headings, they take precedence over table data. You want to use table headings for instances where you have a column, all right? You have a column. So in this case, we have 3 columns: movies, TV shows, and anime. And then our table data is going to be what that column is about, okay? And so let's take a look at a more complicated example, just a bit more complicated. Okay, me zoom in. Okay, so I want to take a look at merging rows and columns, right? I want you to play close attention. Merging rows and columns. So let's get rid let's get rid of everything in between our table data. Sorry, our table element. So I'm gonna delete everything. Now I want you to create a table row. Okay, actually let's create 3 of them. Create 3 table rows. Okay, and the example that we're taking a look at is the one at the bottom, right, where we have favorite fruit, food, Lewis and Sophie. Okay, we're taking a look at that example. And so in our first table row, we want to have four table headings, right? Four table headings. And notice that in the example, the first two are empty. The first two table headings in our first row are empty. So we could just leave them empty. Create a table heading, leave it empty. Okay, let's create another one. Leave that empty as well. Now in this row, we have a table heading of Lewis and Sophie. So let's say we want to put, let's go with Kishana. Okay, and we're going to go with Demetrius. Hey, you have a question? No, I was just using your name as an example. Good. Yeah. So we have Kishana and Demetrius as an example in our table heading. So we're going to come to our second table row. Okay, let's go to our second table row. And let's insert a table heading. Let's insert a table heading, and I want you to pay close attention, right? So you might be saying, hey, Mr. Collins, why not a table data, right? So we're going to take a look. So we have a table heading. Then we want to insert favorite inside of this table heading, right? And notice something with the table heading, right? It's spanning multiple rows, right? It's a much bigger cell or table data than all of our other cells, right? And we're going to take a look at that. It's a special attribute that we could use to accomplish that, okay? And so in our second table heading, so in our second table row, let's insert a table. Actually, I want to change this to table data. I don't want you to get confused. So I'll change that to table data. So I'll create a second table data, and this one should be fruit. Okay, we say fruit. And somebody tell me if I insert a second table data right here, right, where is this gonna show up? Look like I already gave you the answer. If I inserted a table data right where my cursor is blinking, where is that gonna show up? Is it gonna go underneath favorite or fruit? Next to fruit. Okay, let's see. Let's test your theory. She's right. It goes next to fruit because we gotta keep in mind that table rows, TRs, they organize data horizontally, right, side to side. And trust me, I know that wrapping your head around tables can be a bit much, and this is probably the most theoretical part of this whole HTML class, right? So just gotta get to this, and we could get to the good stuff. Okay, so question again: if I wanted to insert banana, would I go to my third table row, or would I insert it in my second table row? Third? Okay, let's see. So if I said TD and I said banana, not quite, right? Not quite. Because if we look at our example, we wanted banana on the side of fruit, so we would insert it in that same table row. right? So banana would actually go underneath fruit in our table row. Okay. So we have apple. We have apple. If I wanted apple to show up on the side of banana, where do I put that? In my second table row or my third? Second. Okay. Let's test your theory again. So we have a TD. Let's insert apple. Man, you're killing us. You're 100% right. Because remember table rows organize data horizontally. Now, since I wanted food, I need food now. I already have my fruit row. Now I need food. I could go to my third table row and insert food. Watch what happens, right? Pay attention. Watch what happens. It goes underneath favorite. Goes underneath favorite. So before I insert pizza and steak, watch this. So if you look at our example, our favorite, it spans multiple rows, right? It spans the second row and the third row. So we can use an HTML attribute called row span, and row span what it allows you to do, it allows you to span a table heading or data to multiple rows. So if we go to if we go to favorite table data, right? We could set an attribute the same way that we set the table border. Go inside of the opening tag. You could say row span equals quotations and how many rows that we want to spawn. We want to spawn 2. Okay, and there we go. So what happened was favorite spawned multiple rows, therefore it pushed fruits to the side. So it's sort of like telling, hey, food, you're in my way. I need you to scoot over a bit, right? And so we could spawn as many rows as we want, but if we insert 3, there's nothing to spawn to because we don't have a row after the second one for favorite. Okay, so we had a third table row, then that would spawn that element. So if I showed you real quick, let's copy this. I'm gonna paste it to create a fourth table row. Then you see that food is gonna spawn. Okay, it's gonna spawn, but we're only working with 3 table rows at the moment. Okay, so now that we have our row spawn attribute set to 2, we could continue. Now I want to set pizza, the table row pizza, the table data. I want pizza to be on the side of food. So I set an empty table data and insert pizza. And that's going to show up in the same row as food. Okay, awesome. Now for our last one, steak. You don't go anywhere. We create a table data because we want the steak to show up on the side of pizza. Okay, awesome. Do we have any questions? Anyone? Questions? Okay, no questions. So let's take a look at the VLE. Let's take a look at the VLE. So let's take a look at lab exercise tables. We're gonna take a look at lab exercise tables. Um, so for this lab exercise, you're required to write some HTML code that will display the table as per the screenshot attached. Good coding practices are expected. Your code must use the following: a row span, a call span, and a caption. And let me show you the caption real quick. And so the caption goes above all of your table rows, right? So we could set a caption, opening and closing tags. Let's name this favorite fruits. So caption acts as the sort of name of your table, right? Caption functions as the name of your table. So if we take a look at our finished screenshot, we see that we have a few rows, a few columns, and as you would imagine, we would have to use row span quite a few times, okay? And so I will walk you through it right now. I provided you some starter code, and so you're gonna go to the VLE, copy the entire code all the way from the opening table to the closing table. Okay, right click, copy. So whether you're using VS Code or CodePen, it's fine. So I'm gonna go inside of my CodePen. I'm gonna paste that code. Yeah, I'm gonna paste that code, and that's my table. Like I said, the table is filled out up until Thursday. So it only need to fill out until Friday. So only Friday's column would need to be filled out. Everything is filled out up until Thursday, right? And so the same concept apply. If I wanted an empty time slot, okay, I'm looking at my finish screenshot. I have an empty time slot on Friday from 9 to 10, then from 10 to 11, then from 11 to 12. And so that empty time slot is in the same row as 9 to 10. So what I would need to do is look for the table row that has 9 to 10 and insert an empty table data, right? So I look inside of my HTML code, I see this row has 9 to 10. Therefore, I would need to enter an empty table data at the end of this table row. And so if we look at my right, that's going to give me an empty table data, right? And so let's take a look again. We have an empty table data on Friday from 10 to 11. So I look for the table row that has 10 to 11. Okay, we found it. This one is 10 to 11. I go at the end and insert an empty table data. TD. Okay, great. So, question. I have an empty time slot on Friday from 11 to 12. Where do I insert that empty table data? Anyone? I have an empty time slot on Friday from 11 to 12, right? Where do I insert that empty table data? Okay, so I look for the same. Okay, remember that. Let me go back a bit. Oh, too far. If you copy the starter code and you copied it and pasted it inside of CodePen or whatever you're using, right? It fills up until Friday. All of the slots are inserted and completed up until Friday. Now, we have an empty time slot on Friday from 9 to 10, meaning we have an empty table data in the same row as 9 to 10. So if I wanted that empty table data to show up on my right, which would be my unfinished table, I would look for the table row that has 9 to 10, right? And insert a table data. Okay, so if we take a look, we have an empty table data. Maybe should I increase my border? That's fine. So we have an empty table data, right? So if we look at our finished screenshot, we have an empty table data from 10 to 11 on Friday. So I don't need to really pay attention to Friday. What I need to pay attention is what table row do I insert that empty table slot. That empty table slot is in the same row as 10 to 11. So I look for the table row that has 10 to 11, which is this one. I go at the end and I insert the table data, right? So now here comes the question again. I have an empty time slot in the same row as 11 to 12. Where do I insert that empty time slot? And which row? Right here in the same table row? Okay, let's see. Okay, so that completely bricked our table. So here's the issue, right? We wanted that empty time slot to go in the same row as 11 to 12. Okay, we already have one for 10 to 11. So we wanted an empty time slot to go in the same table row as 11 to 12. Where would that go? In 11 to 12. Okay, let's test your theory. You say in 11 to 12, so that would be this table row that has 11 to 12. Insert an empty TD. Let's see. And you're 100% right. Why? Because that empty table data is in the same row as 11 to 12. So that's the row we need to look for. Okay? So now, here comes the tricky one. We have HTML on Friday from 12 to 17 o'clock, meaning this table data is spanning 3 rows. It's spanning multiple rows. And so that that HTML table data, it starts at 12 to 13. So that is the row that we want to look for, which is this one. This row has 12 to 13, so that's where HTML table data is going to be inserted. So say table data, and in between those we say HTML, right? And so we have an HTML class on my unfinished table from 12 to 13. Now we wanted to span all the way up until 16 to 17. So we can add a row span attribute, okay? A row span attribute, and set it to 3. We wanted to span 3 rows. Okay, great. Now, I have a question for you. I have an empty table slot, an empty table data from 17 to 18. Where do I insert that empty table data? In which row? 17 to 18. Right. So I scroll down and I look for the same row that has 17 to 18 and I insert an empty table data at the end. Alright? Awesome. That's 100% right. So, again, you gotta keep in mind that table rows, they organize data side to side or horizontally. I keep repeating that because that's the whole point in this whole concept, right? If I had an empty table data on Friday at 9 to 11, I don't need to focus on Friday, but I need to find the same table row that has 9 to 10 and insert an empty table data. Okay? So here's what I'll do. I will copy this code and I will send it inside of the Zoom chat and you could submit that since we did that together. Okay? I can't even submit the entire thing. when we're creating an expanding element, the very first thing that you want to do is to create a details tag. So I'll put this in a comment, right? So I'll say one, create details tag, and you can find all of this inside of your notes. Create details tag. Okay, so you're gonna start by doing that. Opening and closing, right? If you don't add a summary, tag, add details. Toggle is going to be named details by default, right? And so the second thing that we want to do is to create a summary to change the name. So let's create that summary. Opening and closing. Again, that summary is going to change the name of our toggle. So it's going to be a movie of your choice. In this case, I'm choosing Friday. Great. So third thing that we want to do is to copy or look for a summary of your movie. Copy that and paste it in between the tag I'm going to show you. And the tag is the paragraph tag. We're going to create, insert a summary of your movie in So the third thing is to create a summary of your movie. Insert a summary of your movie inside of the P tag. And the P stands for paragraph, right? Opening and closing. So I already have a summary of my movie copied. I'm going to paste that in between. Okay. And so once I hit that toggle again, the only thing that's being hidden or shown is what's inside of these P tags. Okay. So here's what I'll do. Okay, awesome. Here's what I'll do. I will give you 10 minutes. Actually, that might be too much. I give you 8 minutes, and then we'll move forward. Okay. So I'll put a timer for 8 minutes. Then we move forward. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Question. Well, if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay. So we'll continue in 8. Please never copy the output. Always submit the code. Okay. Always submit the code. I'm also trying to record as many full Zoom sessions as I can. So I'm recording one right now. Hopefully by the end of class you could watch the entire lecture if you, so, or you could just watch the smaller chunks. Lab exercise to do. I'll be right back. Okay. So I don't have any submissions. What's up? Do we have any questions? Anyone running into any issues? Keep in mind that you don't have to include these comments, by the way. These comments aren't necessary. Yeah, like when I say when we're going through a lab exercise, every time we're going through a lab exercise, always submit. Okay, anytime you see me put a timer on, that most likely means I want you to attempt that lab exercise and submit it. Okay, always remember to submit the code, not the output. Okay, okay, great. And so I'll give you a minute or two to do that. So I'll put 2 minutes up, and then we'll move forward. 2 more minutes to submit, then we'll move forward. Okay, I have one submission. Do you have any questions before we move forward? Okay, let's see. Okay, great. So, Here's what I want you to do. I'm gonna end class a bit early today because going through the other lab exercises is gonna probably take us the full 2 hours that we need, right? So I don't wanna start it and then we didn't complete it all the way through. And so here's what I want you to do over the weekend. Is there anyone that's currently here that's using a Chromebook? Okay, so everyone in here is using a Windows machine. Is anyone here not using a Windows machine? Okay, okay, great. So everyone here is using a Windows machine. So here's what I want you to do over the weekend. I want you to watch this video that says how to install VS Code, right? I want you to install VS Code and I want you to install a few extensions that's going to make developing in VS Code a bit easier. Because once we start looking at week three's material, using CodePen isn't going to cut it, right? So it's only CodePen is only a temporary solution for right now. So we're going to watch this video and install VS Code. Okay. Do you have any questions? Okay, no questions. So um, I will see you all next week. Um, I know you guys have Intro to Python tomorrow with Mr. Forbes. I will have to pass on the message to him so he could tell everyone inside of your group that you do in fact have this class on Monday and Wednesday. I know it isn't your fault because there was a lot of confusion with the schedule. So no one is at fault for why we're so behind in this specific class. So I'll try to pass on that message to him and then he'll pass on that message to the rest of your colleagues. But um, I also want to ask the three of you for a favor. Tomorrow, when you have classes, or do you have a next class today? Think you have IT fundamentals today? Not sure. Okay, yeah, I think according to your schedule, you have IT fundamentals, but whenever you have your next class with the rest of your schoolmates, could you please pass on the message to them that they do have HTML and CSS on Monday and Wednesday at 1 p.m. Same where your schedule says so. Um, but do you guys know how to look at your schedule? Okay, I'll show you. I'll show you. That should be the first thing that they should have shown you how to do. And so if you go inside of the HTML class and oh, still waiting. No, you can't just wait for the email because see, what the teachers are gonna do, they're only gonna send an email if they notice that the students aren't in the class. And so sometimes your teacher might not send an email. They shouldn't have to send an email. You should just look at your schedule and see, okay, I have this class on this day at this time. Let me enter the Zoom session. Okay? And so if you go inside of your HTML class, you can see student schedule. Okay, you can click this link, or I'll just copy and paste it inside of the Zoom chat. But you should always you could always have access to your schedule inside of your class. I'm not sure if your other instructors included it in the VLA, but I know for certain in your HTML class, you could access your student schedule. So I'll include it inside of the Zoom chart. Okay, so once you click student schedule, it's gonna take you here and you can see the link. Actually disregard what I just sent. I'll copy, paste this. So that link is gonna take you to your student schedule, right? Now, once you get here, there are gonna be 4 tabs, right? the tab that you want to click on is Summer Group Studies. Summer Group Studies. Once you click on that, your group is Group 2. So, again, when you first click on that link, it's going to take you to Cohort 1 New Students, but that's not your group. Your group is Summer Group Studies, Summer Computer Studies, and Group 2. So you can remember it as SG G2. Summer Group Studies, Group 2. Okay? And so according to your schedule, you do in fact have IT Fundamentals at 3, right after this class, and on. So yeah, you could see all of your classes. And the reason why this class is so behind is because if we take a look at Group 3, we can see that they have Intro to Python at the same time. And I'm teaching both of these classes. This Group 3 Intro to Python class is supposed to be on Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. So all the while I was teaching this class at this time, while you guys didn't have an instructor. And so as you could see, they still didn't fix the schedule. They're supposed to be down here. So yeah, you now know how to look at your schedule. Okay? And so, if nobody have any questions, I will see you all next week. So I hope you all have an amazing weekend. Enjoy your holiday. Okay, Monday's a holiday. Please be safe and yeah, next week.